training providers that take possibly 3 to 6 months to complete level 2.
And you can do that in 4 weeks?
We do that in about 4 weeks.
Wow. So, Cheryl, would you like to tell us about Tuts and where it started?
Yeah, so Tuts was formed in 2013. It was off the back of an idea that I'd worked in industry for such a long time, and what I was starting to notice was that there was a lot of instructors that were claiming that they could do and deliver certain training courses when actually they weren't occupationally competent to do so. And I just feel that the relationships that I had with a number of my clients at the time, they needed to know that actually the instructors that we were sending to site had undergone due diligence and that, you know, they were occupationally competent to do so. So Tuts was formed, like I say, off the back of just thinking there's got to be some improvement to industry. There's a huge stigma around training centres and what's acceptable, what's deemed acceptable in industry. And it was as though most of the construction training centres were on a farm, in a tin container, and that was accepted. And again, just knowing the relationship that I had with a lot of my clients, it was like, why is that acceptable? You know, just because they work on a muddy site doesn't mean that they shouldn't have somewhere nice and a nice environment for them to go and learn. So one thing that I was always promising my clients was that when Tuts was formed and once we had a centre, that we would have really nice facilities. You know, that includes air conditioning. It wasn't going to be these tin containers in the middle of a farm, and that the quality of the training was going to be of a very high standard. I wasn't going to just allow any instructor to go out and deliver training just because they thought that they might be able to do it. If they haven't got that occupational competence, then obviously we have to know that, like I say, they've got that competence, they've got that knowledge, they've got that skill set before they go to site.
So the instructors that you did take on, have they been in the construction industry predominantly?
Yeah, so all of our instructors have come from a site background themselves. So I think when we look and we listen to a lot of the feedback that we receive from our candidates, it's because they share those experiences and they can come down to sort of, you know, ground level, so to speak, and share the experience. A training room scenario for a very long time. So it's really important for us that we create that sort of friendly environment when they come to our centre to put them at ease. You know, something that we all do as a business is welcome everybody, to put them at ease, because we've seen grown men come to the training centre in their 50s that perhaps haven't been into a training scenario for such a long time and just absolutely fall to pieces.
Wow.
So it's really important that they know they're going to get that support from everybody, whether that's a member of staff or experience for them.
Yeah. So some of the operators that come, the last time they would have been assessed was when they're at school.
Wow.
Which could be 15, 20 years ago. And then coming into a test environment, they're petrified, absolutely petrified.
Really?
So, yeah, we the backroom staff as well, like Cheryl says, put them at ease. The trainers put them at ease with their training. The feedback states that from the candidates when they come back to us. They're pleased with the training they've had, how relaxed the training has been, how hands-on the trainers are with the operator.
Well, it makes the trainers relatable to the people that are going in to get tested.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what will just set the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I think we've been quite a small business as well. We're really flexible in our approach, where there are lots of other providers out there where it is quite regimented time-wise. Now, absolutely, we have to deliver to scheme rules. And that's something that actually we're all very proud of. We make sure that the delivery is to that high standard. But what that means that we can do as a small business is if we've got a candidate that's come to us and they're petrified, like Steve said, and they need that extra 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it might be, to go and grab a coffee, to compose that they will come back to us for additional training. And they know that we've done everything that we can within our limitations to be able to make that experience with us much more enjoyable. And like Steve said, a lot of that's on the feedback that we receive. You know, somebody just the other day wrote that it was the best streetworks course they'd been on in 25 years. You know, and 25 years of learning and developing in your career is a long time. So to receive feedback like that, you know, as a business, we're proud of that. But as an instructor, that meant everything as well. Because, you know, they're out there day in and day out delivering the same course. So it's really nice to know that they've got to that level with the candidates, offloaded that knowledge and skills to the learners, and they've actually gained from it. And to get that positive feedback just means
rewarding.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just when we're training people, we're not training people to pass the test.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the easy part, to pass the test. It's when they go out on site and we train them to use the machine when they're on the site as well, not just to pass a test. And they're two totally different things.
And do
you simulated environment isn't the same as a live environment where they've got other machines running around, so the dangers and hazards and everything else that go on.
And you fully support them afterwards, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. Tuts isn't about a quick win. It's not, we're here to take your money today for this training course just to allow you to go onto site tomorrow. It's, we want to give you the tools and the skills and the knowledge to go to site and work competently and safely, and then obviously be there for them to be able to progress with their career options as well. So it's about longevity. It's about us being able to hold their hands throughout a long period, basically. And whatever direction that career takes them in, we want to be there to support them. And I think when we look back at a lot of the feedback we've had from our clients, we are achieving that. You know, we're constantly adding to our portfolio of delivery off the back of the demand that's coming from our clients. And that stands us in a really good position.
You work with construction companies, but you also work with individuals as well, don't you?
Yes.
All different age groups.
Yes.
So do you also, you don't just do it at Tuts, you also go on to sites, don't you, as well?
Yeah, so we're a nationwide company. So again, depending on whether the accreditation allows, we will deliver it nationwide. There is a huge scheme change taking place at the end of July, where basically CITB have set the standard, and CPCS and MPAWS, the two awarding bodies that deliver the plant training, have fallen in line with those standards. So that does mean now that there's a bit more flexibility in delivery. So we can deliver, at the moment, there's 8 categories that we can deliver either at the client's location or on our own site. There's a lot of clients that will still prefer to come to us because, like Steve said, we're a safe environment, it's controlled. You know, the candidates are coming to us, they're not thinking about any work that they need to be getting on with. You know, it's quite confined. But then there will be other clients that can meet the requirements, which are, you know, it's stipulated that they have to have training facilities. The machines need to be stood down for the whole duration of the training, so they can't be used on site at the same time. So, you know, and these standards have been put into place to protect candidates, but it's also to increase the quality of work and improve the quality of training. And I think that's the thing, you know, many years ago when we first started out in industry, training was regulated. So for training to become regulated again, in my opinion, is only a positive. Because again, when you go back to why Tuts was formed, it was because there were people out there that were claiming that they could deliver certain training courses, but they didn't have the occupational competence. So now what they're trying to say is, or trying to achieve, is that there is one level of training, regardless of what training centre you go to, we all should be delivering to the same standard.
Yeah.
And they are stipulating durations of training, the ratios of the training. So, regardless of whether you come to Tuts or another provider, the quality or the delivery should be to the same standard.
Previously as well, with MPAWS and CPCS, they are two different awarding bodies, but they've had two different sets of standards. With the CITB bringing this in now, they will both have to adhere to CITB.
Yeah.
So they will.
Still the most recognised scheme in the industry and the most accepted card scheme in industry. Whether that changes over a period of time because of these changes to standards, we'll only have to wait and see. But I think it's quite positive. I think obviously CPCS had the monopoly previously, whereas now as two separate awarding schemes, they now, as long as they deliver to the same standard, it's not biased just to one awarding body.
Right, okay.
If you don't require a particular awarding body, we can obviously just issue a TUTS approved certificate, which would just, again, not necessarily put a tick in the box, but it's a process that you can go through to actually show competency that we've undertaken some training or some sort of assessment on site to deem your candidate safe to undertake the task in hand. We deliver streetworks, so we do quite a lot of training with local councils. So anybody that's excavating in the highways, putting up temporary traffic lights, detecting underground services, those categories are covered under the CABWE scheme that we deliver. So we deliver that as well. And we can do that mainly from our training centre because it needs to be approved. However, as long as we've got notification at a client's site and we can get approval before delivery, then we can deliver that at a client's location as well. And then off the back of all of the plant-related training, we also deliver the relevant MVQs to be able to progress through the scheme.
And on top of that, that's level 2 plant operations, but we also deliver anything through to level 7, which goes level 3, level 4 are supervision, level 5, 6 and 7 go on to site management or management qualifications. On top of.
So again, thinking about the journey that the client has with us, we want to capture that whole progression. They can literally start off as a labourer and we will get them the labourer's card, put them through their training, and then depending on, what item of plant machinery they want to operate, we can put them through the training and the assessments for that, upskill onto a blue competency card. And then, like I say, if they were to progress into a supervisory or management role, we're here to support them with that as well.
So you could literally go into a company and help every single person's career from start to top.
Yeah. And so putting aside the plant side of things and the street works, anything health and safety related, we also deliver as well. And again, that's nationwide. So that's things like first aid, mental health first aid, manual handling, anything that's deemed a requirement on site, we can deliver all of those training courses too. But again, off the back of that, clients, just saying what TUTS is about, we're also there to support our clients because as an industry, the awarding schemes aren't very good necessarily at pushing information out there to the clients. So we want to be consultative in terms of and supportive in terms of the information that we receive. So with regards to the CITB changes that are taking place, I can assure you that a lot of our employers are not fully aware of those changes just yet. So it's really important that the relationship that we've got with our client, that we're able to filter that through to them so that they're ahead of the game, because the problem is a lot of these changes take place rather last minute. So for us to be able to filter that through to our clients, it's really important for us to be able to do that And it just shows that it's that relationship.
And you can assist them with all of that.
We can, yeah. As we can with regards to training matrix as well. When certain cards are due to expire. So depending on their job role, there'll be certain requirements and training courses that they'd have needed to have undertaken to be able to fulfill that role. So we can actually create that if they haven't already got it, or if they have, we can manage it. And what that just means is that instead of them reactively thinking they need a training course for a number of their candidates, we can plumb it into our schedule and actually be very proactive with regards to the delivery. Now, obviously, as with most the clients to make sure that we schedule that at a time that suits.
That's brilliant.
The people that are looking after the training matrices for the company, they've got other jobs to do as well.
Yeah.
And they haven't got the time to manage it.
To keep up with everyone's renewal of cards and things like that.
Absolutely. And we just want to be seen as an extension of their training division. And to be fair, a lot of our key clients, that's exactly how it feels, that we are just an extension of their training division, because we understand the pressures and the strains that they're going through as a business. So if we can alleviate some of that, when it comes to training, that's what we're specialists in.
Yeah, it's like how would they keep up with everyone's renewals and things like that? So you just come in as a one-stop shop and say, like, right, this is up, get them in for the training and just follow the journey down the road.
At the moment, people phone us up last minute. Somebody's car's just run out. It needs to be renewed, and it's too late then. We will, when we manage the matrices, we advise them at least 4-6 weeks before their cars are due to expire. Need to get this course done. So by the time their expiry comes up, it's already done and dusted.
Yeah.
It's already booked, renewed.
And we're pushing it to the client, so the client's not having to worry about it. And I think that's the key thing here, is it's understanding those pressures that they experience, and it's time. And if you've got a client that's got 200, 250 employees, that's a lot to manage. So for us to be able to put that into our system that automates a lot of that for us, but we take that management away from the client, it's one less thing for them to have to worry about, so that they can focus on what they do best and we can focus on what we do best, which is manage their training.
If you can tell us a bit about the funding and grants that you actually help trainees with.
Okay, so currently we can apply for grants for CITB levy paying companies for CPCS training and testing, NPAWS training but not testing, Streetworks, and that's probably, I think, about it at the minute. Once these new changes come in, any grant can only be applied for by an ATO, approved training organisation. So any trainer or training provider will have to be registered with CITB. If they're not, then they can't claim any grants for anybody. Employers won't be able to claim grants themselves any longer. It would be down to the ATO to apply for every single grant that the provider provides training for.
And you guys can do that, can you?
Yes.
Can, yeah.
And you help, going back to that and elaborating on it, you help the trainees to go through the full process of that.
Yeah, so with regards to CITB levy, if the client is a CITB levy payer, then like Steve said, we can apply through the ATO portal for either training or achievement grant, depending on what's available. With the changes, like Steve said, the client no longer will be able to do that. So it's taking that away from the employer. So everything, the responsibility now falls on us as an ATO. Individuals don't qualify if they've come to us directly. They don't qualify for the CITB levy. However, there is CITB training grant that's also available. But again, that goes through employers. But you don't have to be a CITB levy payer to be able to tap into the CITB levy training grant. we obviously keep as up to date as possible with regards to any changes to the CITB levy. And again, part of that relationship that we want with our clients is that we will hold their hand through that process, because there's a lot of clients that even to this day that we speak to and we take on board as a client, and they're not aware of the training grant, the training fund or the CITB levy, but they're CITB levy payers. So it's just exposing them to what's available and then being able to look at what training they've got as part of that training matrix process and highlight what grant or levy they may be entitled to, just so they can utilise the money that is available for them. So with regards to the MVQs that we can deliver on level 2 plant operations, we actually are very proud of the process. We've got a very streamlined process in place now, to the point where we believe that we offer one of the most streamlined processes in industry. So from point of booking to point of certification, we're looking at 3 to 4 weeks. Within about 2 weeks, the candidate would have had a site visit, and the MVQ would be near completion.
Wow.
And then our internal process is about 5 days, and then we wait literally about 5 days again for the certificate. We know there's a lot of competition out there. We know that there's a lot of training providers that take possibly 3 to 6 months to complete level 2
And you
plant
can do
operations.
that in 4 weeks.
We do that in about 4 weeks.
Wow.
On the level 2 plant operation qualifications. It's a very streamlined, slick process that we're really proud of.
Love that. That's brilliant.
That's really
fantastic.
hard for us to get across. I think it's the level of customer service as well.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we know that, again, as a small business, we can offer very high level of customer service. We have heard horror stories before where people have done training and they can't get hold of their cards or certificates. And it's very easy for providers to pass the blame onto the awarding body. But actually, to be fair, we haven't experienced any of that. We've got really good relationships with our awarding bodies that we work with. And it's really important for us because we know how vital it is for the employer to receive that certificate as quickly as possible.
Because will they be going on to site and
Absolutely.
stuff like that?
And we don't want to prevent somebody from going and earning a living on site and being able to prove competency. So it's really important for us to do what we can internally to make sure that we're speeding up that process and doing it as efficiently as we can. So our customer service levels, we're quite proud of our customer service. Our client base are individuals that are obviously self-employed and they need assistance. And I think what's really key here is that we know that we give that level of support. We've got a lot of individuals that come to us thinking that they need a certain training course. Actually, through profiling them correctly, that might not be the right course for them. So it's really important for us to build that relationship with the individual from the offset to understand where they're going to work, what tasks might be undertaken, and even the employer of whom they're going to work for. Because we've got such good relationships with a lot of employers that are out there, we understand the requirements. So it might be that they don't need to go through CPCS route, that actually that employer will accept MPAWS. So it's just having really open and honest conversations with the individuals to make sure that they're put on the right training course. And it's not just a quick win on money, which is what a lot of smaller organisations might do. If they've got a candidate that comes to them and they think they need XYZ training, and they'll just take that and book them on it and put them on it. We deal with, from a booking perspective, is training administrators or training managers within the businesses. And again, a lot of that is a consultative kind of relationship in the sense of they're being told what to book. Majority of the time they're being told that, the learner needs a certain training course. So again, knowing that they can come to us, pick up the phone, ask any question, and no question is a silly question, and we will assist them and just make sure that that is the right course that they need, and then assist them with working it around schedules and making sure that they're placed onto the right course at a suitable time that meets, projects, etc. We've then obviously got our site foreman, site manager or check manager that will be actively on site and looking for training for the candidates that are actively working on site. So they will possibly know what training is required, but they need answers quickly. You know, they're trying to manage sites, they're doing other things. So they need to know that they can pick up the phone to us and we will be as responsive as possible. And if that means, you know, trying to sort training for tomorrow, the week after, or 3 months' time, or as much as yesterday, then we do everything and we pull out, you know, all the stops to make that happen, to make sure that the candidate is placed onto the right course at a location that suits, in a time frame that suits. It's the course and it's in the time frame that they're looking for, because if we can do that and respond very quickly, this is where that relationship starts to grow.
We have that conversation fairly regularly where a foreman comes on to us and says, I want this guy to do this course on that date. Over to you. We deal with it, go back to them, give them the information they need.
And do you get them in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We'll make it happen.
90% of the time. Occasionally it's impossible when they want one the next day. Then it's just not going to happen. But in the main, yes. Yeah, we get them sorted.
I think what's key to address here is that we're specialists in what we do. We're not a broker. It's vital for us to make sure that we're in control, and we've undertaken due diligence on all of our instructors that deliver on our behalf. So whilst we've worked in the industry as a company, combined years are over 100 now. So that's quite some time. We've got a lot of experience behind us as a team. We've built a lot of relationships as well. And I think when we do have a client that's on the phone, they're looking for something rather urgent, if first and foremost, we can't deliver that in-house the following day because we're fully booked or we don't have a trainer availability, we have such a good bank of instructors that literally cover the breadth of the UK. We know that we can go out to them. We've still undertaken due diligence on them. We still know that they're competent and have that occupational competency to deliver the training. So we're literally covered. And that's what makes it easy for us to be able to pick up the phone and actually organise training at the drop of a hat, because we've built up really good relationships over the last 20 years. We are serious about safety, but I think what's really key, and the message we're trying to get across, is genuinely is serious about safety. And I think that's why when it comes to due diligence and delivery, we're second to none. We want to make sure that we're using the most up-to-date machinery that's available, the highest standards, legislation, regulations. But we have fun. We're a small team. The instructors are down to earth. They've come from a site background themselves, like we've said. And I think we just want to... our culture and our environment is just a relaxed, friendly environment. So yes, whilst health and safety is serious and we take it very seriously, and we want to make sure that any of our candidates return safely home at the end of the day, it's really important that when they're with us, we make them feel relaxed in this friendly and fun environment.
Oh, it is get down to earth though, Tuts, in it. And you know what? It's so better. It will be so better for the people that are going training with people that have done the jobs, that have been on sites. They become relatable, because that builds a relationship.
You know, we want to put them at ease and we speak to them. And I think generally when we do catch up with them, a lot of them have just commented on how friendly everybody is, even the instructors. And like you say, because they've come from that site background themselves, and they can actually relay their experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, it just makes it very real.
Yeah.
Some of the trainers point out things that they've seen in real life, serious injuries.
Really?
Whilst it's harrowing, it actually proves that if you don't focus on your training,
this can happen.
It will happen to you. It may happen to you.
And I think this is the thing, when you look back at a lot of the instructors that were perhaps working on site 20, 30
they hadn't even
years
experienced
ago,
it.
but health and safety was very different back then to what it is now. but there's still so much that needs to be done to make sites much safer. And that's where we genuinely want to assist and work with our clients to make that happen, which is why we only deliver what we're specialists for, which is the plant side of things, street works, and the MVQs. We're now going through the process to be able to offer apprenticeships at plant operative and plant mechanic level. And again, that's been based on feedback from our clients. We know that there's a huge skills gap in the industry, and I think it's recorded that they need about 226,000 new recruits by 2027, which is quite scary because it's only a couple of years away. Yeah. So in terms of how we can play our part in that is by going out and exposing construction first and foremost, which is what we're doing, but also undergoing the process to become an apprenticeship provider ourselves. So that process we're currently working through with the idea that we've got the clients that are desperate for new recruits, and we're now working with schools and colleges, DWP, job centres, to be able to go out to the learners, and hopefully we can then bridge that skills gap. So we will place them onto an apprenticeship and then place them into work at the end of the apprenticeship, and that kind of fulfills everybody's aim at the moment.
That's brilliant. But as a woman in a male-dominated industry, there's got to have been hard times for you, facing challenges, because 9 times out of 10, especially when you started out as well, I bet it was worse then than it is now.
Absolutely. I still think we do experience it a lot from a day-to-day delivery perspective. However, I think what makes it work is that me and Steve work really closely as a team. And with Steve being out the front, people probably think Steve's the owner out the front. So that probably wins us clients and business. However, I think the downside of it is that any corporate days, any big event days that go on between construction companies, a lot of it is based around football, golf days, and things that perhaps I'm missing an opportunity on because it's mainly focused at getting the guys together and having a corporate day out between businesses and employers and providers. Whereas that would obviously, it doesn't necessarily have to exclude me.
Does it exclude you?
It does. It does. Previously I've undertaken golf lessons.
Have you?
I did.
Cheryl, that is nice.
And that was actually nothing to do with that.
Right.
That was just something, my husband played golf and I thought it'd be quite nice to...
And how are you coming on with that though?
Yeah, but I don't anyway. But to be fair, that was because I fell pregnant, and then obviously once kids came into the picture, things, are very, very different. But I do think that if there's any limitations now, it's days like that that would exclude us as a business, unless somebody like Steve was to go in our place. But then I would like to be there as the business owner, promoting the company and networking with some of those larger contractors. So, and that's why I say there is still room for improvement, because I think because it's always been done that way.
What do you think it is that? Do you think it's just because men think?
I think
because it's still a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Regardless, I know changes are happening, and changes that need to happen will happen. It's going to take time.
Yeah,
it's not an overnight fix, unfortunately.
No.
And these days that Cheryl's talking about, they've always been male-dominated. Always have been.
I think that's the thing. It's. I appreciate that this isn't an overnight fix, but if we can make and play our part in making slight change and exposure and educating, then it's a step in the right direction.
Every additional female that comes through our centre and leaves with a card or ticket is going to make a difference.
Do you feel like that it's getting more, you're getting more women involved into construction now?
Yes, and I think social media actually is a positive for that. I think, personally myself, I do follow quite a few females that are in construction roles, whether that's as plant operatives or supervisors, and there are more of us. Like I say, as a provider, any networking events or any of these corporate days out, that's where I still see the struggles, because I'm excluded from that.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of women coming through the door, while sometimes it is still a shock to see women coming through the door, it's not a shock. We need more women to come through. And, you know, if we're shouting that we are an inclusive business, that everybody's made to feel welcome, regardless of gender, we want everybody to shout about that, so they know that Tuts is the place that they can come and feel included and inclusive in our delivery. We actually had a female crane operator the other week delivering our slinger course.
Wow.
Very skilled. The feedback that we received from the instructor and the candidates was great. But it's like, you don't want to make a thing of it because you're making a thing of it. You're making a thing of it.
But you want to show it off.
Absolutely. And she was brilliant, wasn't she? And the feedback was really, really positive. We just need more of them. So future plans for us are obviously pushing into the apprenticeships. We know that we need to play our part and bridge the skills gap. So going by industry feedback and working with our clients, we know that apprenticeships is the way for us to potentially move forward. And once we've got that process down to a T, we can perhaps look to add additional apprenticeship standards to our remit as well. We're adding to the team. So we want to add to the team and get back to a decent number of staff without taking away that personal touch that we offer to our clients, because I think that's really key for us, is that we're still small enough to be quite adaptable in our approach and flexible. But everybody that comes on board is like family, and we have that relationship with our clients, and that won't change regardless of our growth plans. In terms of potential new home for us, we will be looking in the next 12 months to see if we can find I think we now need to just suck it and see for a little bit, just to see whether our clients do take up the opportunity for us to deliver it on site. And if they don't, then we could see our centre doubling or tripling in size.
Wow. Now that's
over the
exciting.
next 12 to 18 months.
That's exciting.
Yeah. We're in a good position.
You are. And also you are going to be hosting more of your Women in Construction events.
Yes. Yeah, there is a plan. If I can get another one in by the end of this year, I'll get one, if not two.
Brilliant.
With the local schools. They're already chasing me for some dates.
Wow.
Because
well
they
done.
actually only pushed it out to females only, and do some educational sessions.
I love that. We've spoke about this and I think that is fantastic.
Well, they say that by the age of 7, if you haven't got an eye, if you haven't been exposed to that industry, the likelihood is that it's not even on radar. So if we can get out to, the primary school age groups and just highlight, and even if it means we bring them down for a day, because a lot of the kids, my boys, they see and they, my eldest can operate an excavator. I think he was about 4 and he could do it, but a lot of them, a lot of his school friends have never had the opportunity to sit on a roller or a dumper or any piece of machinery. So I think it's just, and it's still exciting at that age, isn't it?
Yes.
Get them down, show them what a piece of machinery can do in terms of its skill and its ability, and just make it fun, because construction is fun.
Sow the seeds for later on in life.
Yeah.
They stick.
Yeah, definitely.
We also offer a free 30-minute competency assessment for any candidate who is unsure of their level of experience. They may have some previous experience, but it may not be task related for the type of machine that they want to operate. So we have them come into us for 30 minutes, give them a free assessment. We can decide their ability and offer them the relevant course that they need. And then they can obviously book that course with us.
And is that on just plant? Or is that...
It is plant. It's plant, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It just means that if a candidate comes to us and they think that they might need a full 5-day foundation course, or when the scheme changes, that might become a 10-day foundation course, that actually if we can support that they've undertaken some training before and they've got relevant occupational knowledge and skills, like Steve said, with regards to the particular tasks that need to be undertaken, we could reduce that 10-day course to a shorter duration training course. Obviously, with these new scheme changes that are coming into play, there's a lot of stipulations around grants and things like that. So we would only reduce it if absolutely necessary, because the client might then not be able to apply for the CITB levy. But if it's an individual more so, like I say, they might actually think on the flip side, they think that they can come in and do a test, but actually we get them on the machine and they're not up to standard. We would then make recommendations to them to say, look, whilst this is a test only, you can't currently do X, Y, and Z. You need to be able to do this to achieve the standard. We would recommend that you attend a 2-3 day training course, or whatever the case might be. So we're doing it in the interest of the candidate to make sure that, one, they're not spending too much money unnecessarily, but on the flip side, that they're not spending money and then failing and having to spend it again.
For the full course.
For the full course.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Have you got any particular examples or stories you could share of someone doing that?
I think, majority of the time it is candidates that have come to us. We actually had a candidate the other week that came to us completely green, thought that they wanted to undertake excavator training, seen them out in the field, seen that the money's good, seen that, there's some opportunities out there, came to us, sat on the machine and was put off straight away. I think he found it quite daunting because it's as a starting point. He's actually gone away and is currently reconsidering his options. So yes, whilst it would have been great for him to attend a course with us, for us it's more about giving him that support to make sure that he makes the right choice. And through him attending that free assessment with us allowed us to have that conversation with him to highlight, what's required of him as part of the training course for that particular piece of machinery. So whilst we certainly don't want to put people off, we're being real about, what's expected out there.
Well, if they don't like using the machinery, they're not going to want to do it as a career.
Absolutely, and we wouldn't want
that.
them wasting their money on potentially a 5 or 10 day training course to ultimately find out that they're not going to enjoy it.
They don't like it.
Yeah. With what I was going to say about the instructors, the conversations that we're having at the moment is that they want to come back and work with us because we're the only provider that do it right.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
We want to create that, whether you're a member of staff or you're, delivery staff or a candidate. Genuinely, I want people to feel that they work for us, they're delivering it to a standard, they know what they're expected. And I think the feedback from the instructors is, when we come to you, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We know that everything's going to be there. We know that the candidates have been profiled so that it's the right training course for them. And that makes a really big difference. And I think when they talk about other competitors that they're delivering training for, they might go there. The candidates don't turn up. They didn't know about it. The paperwork's for a different course.
Never been on the machines.
Never been on the machines before.
Wow.
And they've been booked on test only. Or the machine is so old that it won't start. It doesn't
So
come
they're not
with...
investing in the people that actually want the
No.
training, because it's like what you guys are doing is you're investing from the get-go. You're helping up. You're even making sure that they're picking the right course that's going to suit them best.
Well, it's those other checks as well. If something's on site, we're making sure that machinery is ticketed, it's got all the certificates so that we can deliver and use that machine. But these other providers, they're not doing that. And the machine half the time is cranky, is old and isn't even working. honestly, some of the horror stories that we hear. So it's lovely to hear that some of these instructors want to come back and work for us for the right reason, because they've kind of gone to other competitors, but without putting words in their mouths. You know, they're coming back here because we know that we do it right. And I think it's that message that I want to try to get across.